That I had my mind one very very always pumping me out that I should learn because I am a Yajurvedi. I should know something about Yajurveda before I die. I must read it once at least. So I thought it. I started on Yajurveda first. There are two Yajurvedas I came to know. Let me not go into details of that. Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda. Then I thought, it is so nice. I can also chant. I had learned chanting of Vedas long time back. Let me not go into that story. I was fond of chanting Vedic things throughout my life, especially during BBSC. I started that one. Then I thought, Yajurveda is good. Why not Rigveda? I started Rigveda. It was wonderful. Then Rigveda is good. Atharvaveda is known for medicinal things. I studied Atharvaveda. Then I went to Upanishads. Then I went to Shankaracharya. Then I went to Ramayana, Mahabharata. These are the things which I am studying for the past 10 years. If you ask me to teach on welfare, I am nowhere. That's what I told Birada. Why are you calling me man? I am nowhere here. No sir, you have to come and talk. Okay, Baba, I will talk something about welfare only, but not technical welfare. Srinivasaya's welfare. So now, let us think about welfare in a different way. I come back from the bottom. Let us go to the Rigvedic period. Then the human beings are coming and dwelling. And they saw, earlier they were eating something on the plants, underneath the plants. Then they saw some animals are moving around. They accustomed them, brought them inside. So there are references in the Rigveda about 3 animals definitely. One is cow, second one is goat, third one is horse. These 3 animals are always there. They brought them inside. Then because of the kings came, the warfare started. So 3 more important animals came to warfare. One is elephant, another is camel, another is again importance of the horse. So these animals came, they became familiar to the human beings. And then what happened? Human being population was not safe. So they were taking milk from the animals, it was sufficient for them. Plenty of land was available, like in the United States now. So plenty of land is available, the animals went out by themselves, ate something, gave something, they were happy with it. Everything was fine. Now they thought that animals are producing milk. If I produce more, I can sell more. Typical human tendency. So then what happened? They started. So okay, let us keep it inside. This is to be called so-called domestication. The poor animals which were roaming around nicely, welfare was that. So we curtailed their welfare, brought them inside. And then it was actually our bounded duty to see them to be happy with us. But that was not to be because of so many constraints. What were the constraints? One is the land. Because as the population increased, the food demand increased. As the food demand increased, the land has to be used more. When the land use became more, there was less land available for the animals to graze. Then they thought, okay, why should not we grow fodder within ourselves? Then came the fodder business. So then fodder, initially regular fodder they were growing, that was not sufficient. They thought we have to have more fodder. So developed some hybrid ones where they cut many times and give them to the animals. Then slowly the poultry was introduced into the human this thing. They were also domesticated. So that was entirely a big story. So like this, all the animals came inside and then they started serving the humanity rather than being companions. Now, at once we have domesticated animals and we are using it for our use, only for our utility and nutrition. Question of welfare has to be a compromise. Total welfare is impossible. For instance, in poultry, debeaking is essential for bird to consume food properly. Because welfareers don't debeak them, they won't grow well. They won't produce well. That's the main problem. So there has to be compromise between these two. Okay, food is shortage. The animals have to be used for food. For example, broilers have to be sacrificed for food. So then what to do? Then ahimsa satyam asteyo brahmacharya masangraha will not come there. It won't come there. There, what we can do the best is, let us compromise. We will kill the animal in such a way that it won't feel the pain. Look at that. This is done by us. We will kill the animal without giving pain to them. This is welfare. Right? The real welfare is you should not kill it at all. Do we kill our parents just because they are old? Okay, you may say that who is there to eat human meat? There are tigers and lions, give them. We are not going to dispose our parents just because they are old, but we are disposing our animals. Sometimes when they are not old, as a regular routine in case of broilers, in case of cattle, when they become old, we are doing because it is necessity. That's it. It is not that we want it, because it is necessity, but there is a compromise. What compromise they have made? We will kill them silently without giving pain. Wow, fantastic. So question of talking welfare of animals in the reality is nonsense, according to me. When we talk about actual welfare, it is only the welfare of giving the best environment for the animals to serve us better. That's all. That's what just now he told. For instance, when he told, this was very, very encapsulative for me, because there are many ways of learning Vidya. One is Guru Shushrushaya Vidya. You must do Shushrushya of the Guru. That means whatever he wants, go in, live in his place, whatever he tells you, do it, everything. Then one fine day he asks, what do you want? Then he asks, we want Vidya. So that is Guru Shushrushaya Vidya. This is supposed to be the best way, Uttama way. Pushkalena Dhaneva, give lot of money. Like the kings used to send their princes and give lot of money, they used to teach. Then Vidyaya Vidya. I know statistics, you know poetry science. You teach me poetry science, I teach you statistics. These are the only three ways. Chaturvidham na bhavishyati. There is no fourth way. Right? So, in this way, same way, in welfare also, there is no fourth way, there is no second way, there is no third way. We have to give them free. You have to leave them as it is. Then all sorts of compromises came. In case of poultry, compromises are there. For example, there is aviaries, where birds are let free in the morning, and then when they come in the evening, they are confined, given lot of space, and then made to lay eggs. This is an aviary. And then there are what are called as furnished cages, in which birds are allowed, lot of space is given, a perching rod is given where they can fly and sit, they can swing. There is some place where they put some dust, where they can have dust bathing, but still do you think they will be happy? No. I won't accept that as welfare, but it is compromise. It is not as bad as a California type of cage. It is not as bad as completely deep into the system, giving the very minimum floor space required just for them to turn. So, the welfare is thought over since the beginning. Always the human beings are thinking of welfare of the companions, but with a compromise for his own good. Without compromising his welfare, he is thinking of the welfare of the animals. This everyone should accept. There is no doubt about this. We cannot think of complete welfare of the animals without thinking of our own welfare. Is there anyone who has thought like that? Even if he thinks like that, it is not possible. At least in countries where population is very high and the food requirement is very high, many of the lacto-vegetarians, because milk is definitely non-vegetarians, there is no pure vegetarian existing in the world, excepting he has not even drunk the mother's milk. Even mother's milk is non-vegetarian. Vegetarian is one who takes food only from out of vegetation. At once the baby consumes mother's milk, it is non-vegetarian. Lacto-vegetarian, I put it. So the lacto-vegetarians are going to lacto-ovo-vegetarians. They started giving eggs and they became non-vegetarians, many of them. So in this way what is happening, there is more pressure for animals. So what all we talk of welfare is within the limits of human requirement, is not regarding the animal's goodness or an animal's happiness. So since the Vedic times, in all the Vedas, there is a typical shloka, all the Vedas. I will not tell the entire shloka, part of it is related to animals only I will tell. Gau Shanti. That means let the cows be happy. Shanti. Ajashantihi. That means horses. Let the horses, goats, let the goats be shanti. Let them be at peace. Ashvashantihi. Horses be, let them horses be happy. It continues. Vipade Chatushpade cha shantim. That means Vipade means bipeds. Chatushpade means quadrupeds. Let the bipeds and quadrupeds be happy. Shanno astu Vipade Shan Chatushpade. This is a standard ending of Purushsutta, which is in the part of Yajurveda. So that means let all these bipeds and quadrupeds live happily, peacefully. That's what is told in all Vedas, this sloka comes. In Yajurveda specifically, Yajamanasya Pashu Pahi. We have to take care of all the animals of the owner. That's the meaning of it. Yajamanasya Pashu Pahi. Pashu Trayetam. Let them take care of all the animals. Vipadava Chatushpat Pahi. Bipeds and quadruped, let them be happy. Urjam no dehe vipade Chatushpade. Let these bipeds and quadrupeds get sufficient energy and nourishment. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, a part of Rigveda, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, a beautiful Upanishad it is. I don't want to go into details of that one. It is clearly given. Mridaha means deers. Ushtra means camel. Kharam Arkhaku, that means the equines and the rats. Sarisripa, that means the creatures that will go on the land, creep on the land. Khadam,